Hey guys, welcome back to the Ghost and Friends YouTube channel. Just checking in. We normally do a post game show, but with my recent, moving to inside Texas, I had shows Saturday and Sunday, and so first time really touching base with anybody regarding Texas's loss to Ohio State on Saturday on my channel. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the bad, the good, and where we go forward. But first things first, man, it is pretty wild to see the national reaction to Arch Manning struggling. We knew it'd be the case. We just hoped it'd be a lot further down the line, his struggles, than week one in a big moment in a game in which he plays, decent at all. Texas maybe wins that game by multiple scores. There's a lot of missed opportunities. Appreciate you being here, Bart. Had no doubt we'd get an Aggie in the chat at some point. But regardless, thanks for your support, my man. But yeah, you looked at it. I did the immediate, live show as soon as the clock hit zero on Saturday in Columbus, and that's tough because the emotions are still a little bit raw. I was a little bit harder on Steve Sarkisian than I should have been. And y'all know how I feel about Sark. I wasn't necessarily hard on the guy. I just said I didn't love his plan. But going through a rewatch, and seeing the plan and some of the missed opportunities, that's just kind of the theme of the day for me. You have an opportunity multiple times to pick up points, first half, second half, that didn't happen. It's tough, man. It really is. It's a bitter and tough pill to swallow, regardless of how you feel about the team down the line. Just because you left a lot of meat on the bone, a lot of points on the field there in Columbus, Ohio. So yeah, I agree with you, Ethan. Congratulations to your Buckeyes. That's a big win, and that's one thing that and if you watch this show, we alluded to there being struggles. We saw Arch last year. Yeah, he's got great tutelage, and he's going to be very good. But I mean, he didn't look exactly ready. Quinn Ewers should have been the starter. And it sucks that we have to argue as a fan base over Quinn and Arch, and that conversation was brought back up over the weekend. It's been a wild weekend, especially around the media. But yeah, no, the media hyped Arch Manning up, and it was some of our own guys. And so our cries are going to fall on deaf ears when we're screaming and begging, "Oh, just let it play out. Let's let the kid grow." If his last name wasn't Manning, this reaction wouldn't be the same. And albeit that is true, and we do need to let the kid grow, that's not how people are going to handle that game. Not at all. And a lot of us, we frequent the Twitter world. That's where you see the at down here below at 40 Acre Vibes. If y'all are only on YouTube, come hang out with us. It's a lot of some spats, but there's also some really good ball talks and very knowledgeable people talking the game of football on the Twitter app. But yeah, I mean, no one cares. They don't care what we say. They don't care, and they shouldn't, because some of our own media ranted and raved about Arch Manning. Some of our own media ranted and raved about certain players from Texas being better than Ohio State's players. And, and I'm not talking about any one person in particular. It's just there was multiple examples of both that you could point to. And so it is what it is, man. Ohio State's a damn good football team. As Ethan says, Texas, in my opinion, still has a very good football team. And so I asked a question today on Twitter. I said, "Who are your top three teams in the SEC after 1 week of play?" And I knew exactly what I'd get. And I was trying to create some bookmark worthy material because so many people went heavy on the Texas bookmarks after we lost Saturday. But yeah, that you might have a quarter of the people who still listed Texas in their top three SEC teams. A team that just went on the road and outgained Ohio State, a very good football program, defending national champions, a team that had a really good plan on both sides of the football, outgained them by over 150 yards across midfield, more than twice as much as Ohio State did. Yeah, and I posted a tweet. It deserved a little attention, but the people that thought I was serious that Colin was going to get 400 sacks, that is fun. So thank you for that, Bart. It's just a game where there's a lot of positives, but there's a lot of bad, and so for us that are immediately, um, you know, this is the thing, college football, what we talk about, there's more parity now than ever in this sport. We talked about the days of them, and it sounds like coping, but it's not, because I'm not actually disagreeing with Sooners Cowboys right here. Ohio State could very well drop a game or two while they wait on Julian Sayin to kind of get, his own training wheels and who was a guy. This is a guy that was very poised and comfortable, but they still held a lot back. Very obviously held a ton back in the passing game. Probably just starting to dip a toe into the water of what he and Ohio State and that receiving core are capable of doing. So while Texas played a very good game defensively, there were still missed opportunities on that side of the ball as well. Their first touchdown was aided by roughly 25 yards in penalties. I mean, this is a defense that has championship potential in Texas, but I mean, that's something you just can't allow, especially in a game that at that point it's going to be a low scoring dogfight. Points are at a premium, man, and you just can't give those up. But anyways, defense played a hell of a game. Nobody, I'm just saying, not either side of the ball, was without fault in this thing. And so here we go. If you watch the show again, we talked about it. Can Texas run the ball in short yardage spots? Can we avoid penalties on the offensive line? But to be honest, the O line stepped up and played a better game than many thought they would. The wide receivers, Arch Manning, the running backs, they got to help those guys out just a little bit, and that's just a matter of fact. The running game, 160 yards, absolutely, great number. But we said on Inside Texas, it could have been blocked for 200, 210, 220 yards. There's backs in the past who take some of the holes that were given to them on Saturday and turn those into 40 or 50-yard runs. And Cedric Baxter looked really good, looks healthy. You want to see that. But we all want to we need to see that next level. And so Trey Wisner is going to continue to run with every single bit of heart and soul he has. Cedric Baxter will do the same. I would also like to see Christian Clark get some run. I think he's just got a little more explosion to him. And I'm not trying to overreact to one game. If you've watched this show, we've been saying this for weeks now. So these are three guys I think that Texas will use. I'm hoping to see Clark in the fold this weekend against San Jose State. And again, the backs did well, but again, the O line blocked in the ground game a little bit better than even the 160 we picked up. There was more there. So again, some missed opportunities there. It wasn't just an Arch Manning, wasn't just a wideouts. Chris Bennett, appreciate you being here as always, man. I hope you got through Saturday okay, Bubba. That was a tough one. Appreciate you being here, Mr. Longhorn emoji. But yeah, I agree, man. We do have a championship level defense, and many people said that coming into the season, and many people feel that way even after that game. And so, yeah, this is a game where you really get to see Cedric Baxter out in the open and really see what he looks like post injury. But yeah, I would expect the running game to go pretty heavy this week because again, as we develop the run game, this offensive line continues to find its cohesion. Things get easier for Arch Manning. Things get a little bit easier for this wide receiver. But again, man, like Arch and the wide receivers need a lot of work. They have to have these in game reps, man, because there's a lot of timing issues. It seemed like lack of trust almost at times from Arch. I mean, obviously I've said before already, he was flying through progression. So that the passing game to me, I wouldn't care if we threw the ball 40 times this weekend. I wouldn't care if Arch Manning is in the game in the very beginning of the fourth quarter. Let's get him every single bit of game reps to slow that body down a little bit, slow that mental clock down some. And it was a really big moment. I'm not trying to harp on the kid, but if he plays decent football at all, Texas wins that game. Serious question here from Mr. Sooner Cowboys. The way things played out with yours and the way Arch looked, are y'all questioning Sark's quarterback development? I'm really not, man, because Quinn was hurt half the time. And again, that's not a knock on Quinn Ewers. That's just a matter of fact. When Quinn played, he was inconsistent. Sark had him ready for the big games after coming into the big games during long off seasons. The Alabama game, the start of his career, the second Alabama game, the Michigan game. Obviously, only played a quarter in the first Alabama game, but those were some of Quinn's best football. So Sark can get a guy prepared. Now, Sark, what he can't do is immediately go out there and take away nerves from a kid who's clearly has them on the field. And so, yeah, I mean, dating back to Sark's history, man, he made Casey Thompson helped Casey Thompson play some pretty damn good football, the best football he played in his career at the beginning of that 2021 season. So I'm not there, man. He's got such a long, he's a lot of skins on the wall with NFL quarterbacks. And yeah, maybe these guys aren't Hall of Famers, but some really damn good players and guys that tore it up at the college level. And I have the utmost faith that Arch is still going to be a top 5 player or top 3 to 5 quarterback in the SEC, if not higher. Like I still believe that. Feel free to troll me if I'm wrong, but growth is allowed. Okay. We're going to look like a different team in October. And then again in November, it's just part of the sport. again, I understand the media reaction. I understand the memes, the gifs. There's been some really funny work, man. I'll give it to y'all. Um, yeah, I'll give it to you, man. It's a beautiful play call. We talked about it on the show last week with the YouTube collab. We had Nash and Fanatic and Homer on, and we talked about what we'd run on the first play. We knew that Sark would come up with something fun, a very, very fun concept, easy concept, just a flood that was designed a little bit, and had Ryan Wingo in the flat. Yeah, it's tough, man. That was a rough. I really, I could see it open on screen. I didn't expect that, but another thing, yeah, I think we see a little bit more Arch. I think we should run him a little bit more early to kind of get him comfortable in the games. I don't know if you guys agree with that. Let me know, but just kind of get him into the field, let him get touched a little bit early on. I know that he was still using his legs a little, but if you watch those first few drives, he was a statue in the pocket, man. He was really locked in and dialed in and really, that great job. But for Arch and his nerves, I'd like to go ahead and see him implemented into the run game just a hair, just to go ahead and see, get the blood going a little bit. Livingston injuries, solid, man. Livingston's going to be a really, really good player. Jermaine Matthews is one of the better cover corners in the entire country, and Parker had him beat a couple of times, and the one that he dropped on fourth down in the end zone. There is a day where Parker Livingston, he reels that in. I really believe that. Really tough catch, man, but he had a full left hand on that. And I wouldn't be shocked to see him make a play like that at all, man. But kudos to him for bouncing back and getting in the end zone. The only guy that did for the Horns. Bart, I agree, man. 3 tune-up games are very, very important. I think you again. I'm letting the football fly. I'm gonna mix run pass, of course, but I'm going to get a lot of reps, and I'm not worried about hurting a couple of feelings, throwing deep balls late in third quarters of these next couple of games. I want Arch getting all of the reps, seeing different looks, as many as he can, because we have some very serious football coming up with Florida and Oklahoma back to back. Yeah, Quinn wins that game. Texas probably wins that game by 10 points. Almost said 10 touchdowns. That'd have been bad. I agree with you, man. There's a lot of intermediate stuff that was open, and that's more of Quinn's expertise. Quinn hit the intermediate stuff, was very, very consistent in the intermediate game. And yeah, Texas wins that game with Quinn Ewers. I hate that we're having to do that, man. But in this day and age, it is what it is. Comparisons will be made. Sark did get Matt Castle drafted. What are we doing here? Never going to question Steve Sarkisian. And I will bring up things about the program. I'll always be honest. If I see something I like, I'll say it. If I don't like it, I'll say that as well. Doesn't mean I don't trust Sark he's allowed to have bad games, just like Arch Manning, just like everybody else. Sark has had stinkers before, and not that was a stinker, but the quarterback sneak on 4th and 1, I'm going to call that what it was, and that's definitely a stinker. That was tough. For me in that situation, I like going gun. I like spreading the defense out and giving Arch something off tackle with a run pass option or something, to the field side, the wider side of the field. Just giving his body up like that, and most importantly, the way that we were aligned, we were beat. We were beat before the ball was snapped. It seemed like we tried to go hurry up a little quick, get under center, run the play, but Ohio State went faster. They were already lined up. Again, I talked about this a little bit with Inside Texas. I'm not frustrated with Sark, man. Arch just needs to play better, and he will play better. Crazy, crazy moment for that young man going into the first game. So relax, guys. Take a deep breath. We have a defense that's going to keep us in any and every game that we play. I can't imagine there's a team, on our schedule that has an offense that's look back to last year. Nobody really, before the Arizona State game in double overtime, nobody eclipsed 30 points without a ton of help from Texas, and that was Georgia in our house. And we helped them a ton in that football game via turnover. So just have faith, man. It's going to it'll figure itself out. And I say that meaning the offense. Positives about the offense: you got Jack Andrews, who just had an incredible display of strong hands, a guy that can get open against really good competition. He's tough, not afraid of the moment, clearly. Very willing blocker. I love Gunnar Helm with everything that I am. Jack Andrews is a better blocker by a pretty good margin. He missed a couple times, but again, nobody was perfect on Saturday. A big moment for Jack too. This isn't, Pac-12 or even ACC football at that moment. A little different than playing at Cal. So we're gonna keep going on some positives here in just a moment, but addressing Mr. My guy, Scotty. I call him the Scotty Scheffler super fan. He's the biggest Scotty fan I know. But He thinks it's as simple as this. Arch was nervous and not ready for the moment, which will lead to the rush throws, poor mechanics. That game will benefit him more than anything. If I could favorite a comment right now, if I could tattoo a comment about this weekend, it'd be, on my forehead, it would be that one right there, because that's how it is. He wasn't ready for the moment from a mental process, and not saying that's Arch's fault, but I mean, he was way too sped up from the jump on Saturday. Your mind is sped up, your body speeds up. I threw 6 interceptions in a high school game. If you want to talk about poor mechanics, I can tell you about poor mechanics. Mind speeds up, body speeds up, erratic mechanics, man. And we're not going to see that because, like you just said, Scotty, super fan. You know, they're going to work on the fine details, the small little things that Arch might not have thought he had to worry about, and that's part of the game. Sarkisian's presser today talked about reading the backer instead of like reading the crossers on mesh concept. These are things that Arch will get used to. Mesh was open multiple times for Texas. Should have had a touchdown one time off of mesh. Should have had a 3rd and 5 conversion to Ryan Wingo off of mesh. I'm not concerned. I'm truly not about reads and Arch and him slowing down that mental process, because with game reps, with the understanding, like, this is my team, it's not being thrown out there to the Wolves in the second quarter against Kirby Smart in Georgia after we've just gotten kicked in the teeth for the first 25 minutes of that game. It's his team. He will take this team. He's accountable. I guarantee you he's already got in front of every single player in the locker room, owned up, saying, hey, that's on me. That loss is on me. But I got your back down the line. And that's any quarterback, any leader, in that spot. And you don't think Arch Manning has been, taught and trained how to handle a locker room after mistakes, after failures. You know what I mean? Because Uncle Peyton, hey, shout out to him. He threw 6 picks in the game too. Holler at Antonio Cromartie. I think he had half of them. But, and Uncle Eli, he knew a thing or two about picks. Arch Manning will have games where he probably throws more than an interception at Texas. It'll probably happen. My season prediction was 9. But I don't think he plays worse football than he just did right there. Even some in the ground game, he's missing blocks, he's missing holes, he's a little impatient in letting blocks and plays develop that could have turned into really big plays for Texas. It will get a lot better. I mean, we almost just won that game on the road with a Caleb Downs on the other side, who basically just is a cheat code in modern college football defense, because you could call whatever the hell you want behind him and let him do his thing. And he's almost right almost every time. He's incredible. And so we're so quick to hop on Texas and to judge our offense and its struggles. But I mean, Ohio State has some pretty damn good defenders on that side. Matt Patricia knows a thing or two about defense. And if you've watched, I've said, if he came out and he ran match quarters, he came out and ran the stuff that he ran with Bill Belichick. And shout out to Pack Talks Texas, because we talked about this a lot. If he ran that stuff, we felt a lot better, that Texas would handle that Sarkisian would handle that, because he's shown that he can handle an NFL type defense. Unfortunately, Patricia ran a lot of cover 3, mostly cover 3, ran a lot of cover 2, and then mixed in a tiny amount of match quarters. It was a really good plan by Patricia, but Sark's plan was still good enough to beat it, and we just didn't capitalize. Wide receivers, Ryan Wingo's got to run a couple routes better there. But again, we got to do a better job of engaging Ryan Wingo early in games, getting that guy involved, getting DeAndre Moore involved. But again, Arch missed a couple reads, or DeAndre Moore probably has a little bit bigger game. It is what it is. He's going to get better. I feel very, very comfortable about that. Now, the national media will continue to do what they do. They're going to continue to overpile on Arch Manning, and we have to be prepared for that. It's not a big deal. Again, our cries will fall on deaf ears until Arch Manning, shows up and balls, and then we can say, well, we told you, we told you. How do I feel about the Florida game? I mean, after losing that game the way that we did, I feel better and better, because now it's a new opportunity to go on the road and start a new streak. And I'm not saying that they will run off another 11 games in a row on the road. I'm not saying that. But I feel better about the focus level, the attention to detail, the protecting the football, pre-snap penalties. I feel better now about Texas going on the road and in that moment. And I also think Florida doesn't have near the offensive line Ohio State does. I don't think that they necessarily want DJ Lagway to get the ball out of his hands super duper quickly. I don't think that necessarily benefits his skill set to the maximum. So it's going to be a whole different game plan. We're going to have to cover cover really, really well. Um, I don't anticipate that they run the ball very well on Texas, but again, we'll see what we look like. We got to play a lot better on offense, or it doesn't matter. It's going to be a low scoring dogfight. Right adjustments quick enough. I might have liked to seen a little bit more Arch Manning in the first half as far as the ground game. Yep. I just give it to him there in the second quarter a little bit. They did one time. But I mean, we picked up like 6, 7 yards or maybe it's like 9 yards on first down. I would like to see it a few more times because after that moment, to me, it seemed like he was slowing down just a little bit. So yeah, it's tough in that moment though, man, because you got a young quarterback. You don't want him to take a pounding. It's the first game of the year. He's going to be a part of the running game throughout the year. So you can't. It's a tough line to toe. You got to give him a little bit of carry, a few carries. You can't go overboard. It's not a Tim Tebow situation. We're not going to look like that. But again, some early points and scoring early in that game, I think would have gone a long ways, especially for Arch and maybe just his confidence. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm a Sark truther. I'm not going to pretend to know that everything that Patricia at the time that what he was doing, because in real time I couldn't see that it was mostly just cover 3 and they were just disguising it a hair and then at times cover 2. But I like what he did, man. He stuck with the ground game. He came out in that second half and that first drive really tried to establish a run. And that's a huge thing for Arch. Could think if Arch comes out after the defense gets to stop and we're all kind of, okay, they didn't go score. We're back in this football game. Arch comes out and he's all hyped up and we go throw 3 straight incomplete passes. That'd have been pretty tough. The one complaint I will say about Sark in the first half, though, is that, I felt like too many times when we went incomplete on first down that we turned and went automatic run on second downs. And that Patricia caught on to that as well, started cheating down a little bit more with Caleb Downs in the box. And, we were averaging just a couple of yards on those carries on 2nd and 10. And so if you're going to run the ball there, I'd like to be a little less obvious, maybe spread out Arch, run some 11 personnel. But again, we had some fun looks. I thought some creative stuff that we didn't get a chance to work on just because we had a couple pre-snap penalties. There was the one empty set with 2 tight ends. And I believe we had a false start on that. And that was the one that Arch threw it to Ryan Wingo on the left side, kind of on the hashes, right when they blew the play dead. In that moment, I liked that look a lot. And I'd be curious to see what else we could do out of that. We could run some quarterback power and some G stuff. But we'll see, man. It's going to be a fun time, guys. Don't panic. I'm telling you right now, Texas is going to be damn good. This defense is loaded. Jack Baumeister was awesome in special teams. Yeah, Shipley didn't really get a chance, obviously, in the kicking game. That's okay. We'll get the work in for the next 3 weeks. I guarantee you there's a couple times where we might have the ball in a 3rd and 10 and we go ahead and run it just to put Mason in a game, in an end game with some actual stress on the line, a little bit of pressure, and try to see him execute. I wouldn't be surprised to see that at all. So if you see a weird play call sometime in the next couple of weeks in the 3rd, 4th quarter, I think it might be just to see Mason get a little bit extra work. Oh man, this is tough. Yeah, I felt like Nebraska's offensive play calling in the 09 conference championship. I mean, the play calling would have looked a lot better, dude, if Arch could hit something. If Arch doesn't throw the post to Ryan Wingo down there by the goal line, double covered, if he looks down the left sideline and sees DeAndre Moore, who looks like he ran a deep out route, I mean, that was wide open. There's misses, man. But you got to think, like, Sark's an excellent schemer. Well, Ohio State just played Texas, man. They get to sit there, and they probably had a week, obviously, of prep for Texas in the Cotton Bowl. What was it, 2 weeks? And then you turn around and you have a whole offseason to get ready for Sark's concepts. It was never going to be guys just running scot-free, wide open. It was never going to be that easy. It's a matter of hitting tight throws into windows that were close. You're playing cover 2, cover 3 over there on the other side. You're going to have to hit tight windows. And a lot of the times you got Caleb Downs lurking around. So, I mean, I understand the nerves. I really do, especially when you have a guy like that on the other side of the football. And he was definitely looking and double checking, sometimes triple checking where Caleb Downs was pre-snap. He will hit those throws. Sark's plan was good enough to win. It was good enough to beat Patricia's. I think it was good enough to put the ball in the end zone 3 times minimum. I really do. We almost did that with the people complaining and bitching about the plan. We almost got the ball in the end zone 3 times. So have faith in Sark. He knows what he's doing. That, yeah, sure, maybe a little bit of a wake-up call as far as how you approach a game if you're Arch. You know what I mean? Make sure you double check, triple check that you are free, you are easy, and you are ready to go be yourself on the football field, because that is not who Arch Manning is, and he will prove that down the line. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch it play out, man, because, again, plenty of bookmark material for us over the weekend. We said before the season, my ceiling was 11-1, my floor was 9-3. If we go 9-3, I mean, you have a really solid chance to make the college football playoff. Do it. Is that what I'm still predicting? No, I'm not. I think Texas, we win the Florida game. Oklahoma's going to be a dogfight because, I mean, they played nobody the week before. We're at the swamp. Plus, they've upgraded talent. Call it what it is. They've got a good defense. Material's a whole different problem than what they had last year, but still feel good about Texas in that game. It gets a lot easier after that. You know, I hate to say I feel that arrogant about SEC play, but looking down the line, you know, I mean, Georgia, A&M, that after Florida and Oklahoma, you know, those are pretty much the only two. So I still feel very good about the season. I really, really do have faith, man. Not trying to sound like that arrogant Texas fan, but I am trying to walk some of our own a little bit off the ledge. Saw one too many Fire Sark tweets. Saw one too many he can't win a big game tweets. This man was 5-7 a couple years ago, brought us out of the mud, and we're so quick to jump on the guy. It's hilarious. It really, really is. Recruiting out of his mind. I mean, we get #1 class last year, top 3 class 3 years in a row, and we're mad about a 1-possession loss at the Horseshoe because, yeah, we ran a crappy quarterback sneak. It is what it is. Could Sark benefit from a play caller? That's a whole other discussion to be had. You know what I mean? If you really want to dive into that, maybe we do that one day here and we get into that. It works. You know, some guys, Ryan Day turned it over to Chip Kelly, won a national championship. Mike Norvell turned it over to Gus Malzahn, working out pretty well for him. But every coach is different, and it takes a lot of trust, you know, to give a guy your system. You know, got to put some pride down. And I'm not saying that's what Sarkisian needs to do, but I'm definitely saying I'd be willing to have the discussion. Appreciate you guys watching tonight. If y'all haven't done so yet, please throw a like on the video, sub to the channel, of course, tell a friend to tell a friend. Come watch the old Ghost and Friends. It's been a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate all the love and support with the big news last week with me moving to Inside Texas. Nothing with this channel will change. Content will remain. We'll have Texas coverage, SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12, the works. So I really appreciate you guys. Thanks for all the support. You have no idea how much it means, man. It's definitely fun to you know, we have built a community, and it's fun to see where it's taken us. And so when I say on X, when I say on YouTube, like, all of you guys are a part of the growth that y'all are. You're all a part of you know, the news last week with Inside Texas, a part of this channel. Like, I genuinely mean it, man, from the very bottom of my heart. I couldn't be more grateful, gracious, just appreciate it. You know, you spend your time here with me. We share takes. We're all respectful for the most part with one another. We can talk ball without you know, hating the guy on the other side that, you know, has a different logo on his chest. And for that, I am grateful, because it is crazy times out there, and y'all know how it is on social media. But appreciate you watching, guys. Have a good one. The Horns are going to be fine. Y'all enjoy the rest of your night, and let's go watch TCU and Bill Belichick go at it.